Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is still on those ones and twos. You know, he had a show the other day. He goes, "Hi, Syrian. Richie, it's Johnny on the ones and twos, and I have a question." Sorry.
I don't understand.
He goes, "I'm Johnny on the ones and twos, and
Hey, this is Johnny on the ones and twos. I have a quick question.
Oh my God.
It was like God. Hello, guys. Stop doing that. Coming from above. Syrian guy was like looking around. It was beautiful. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. It is double bonus. Somebody said, woohoo, another live stream. That's right, Jameson Doan. We are bringing to you another live stream, this time with the lovely Fiorella. How you doing, Fiorella? They love our corniness here.
I can't. No, okay, they might love it. I have to endure it, so it is not as much fun. It's just, yeah.
Yes.
Jimmy Dore had a great live show last night. It was awesome.
He did.
It
was pretty awesome.
Steph was hilarious.
Sold out.
Sold out. But guess who was also there? It was amazing. Dylan Radigan was there.
Yeah, he was there. He was really good.
It was so awesome. And he did talk too much sometimes.
He's very intellectual.
Yes, very much.
I get that. It's like, you're like, he's there with a bunch of comedians and he's just trying to be serious and talk about serious things. And then everybody's like, what's his name?
All our fams were there too.
Yes, our Tulsi fams were there too.
I was in
a lot of people.
was with the enemy, with the Tulsi crew, with like what some of my burners consider the enemy. And I had my Bernie.
They are
my
not.
Bernie,
that is so untrue.
I know they're not. That's what I'm saying is like.
I got called by the campaign today too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they were asking if I could donate $50. I said no. They're gonna donate $40.
They straight up asked for $50.
They said, well, if you can make a great contribution today for $50, that'd be great.
Wow.
I said,
So that's happened to
that's
myself
really tough.
and Pasta.
I will be donating to Bernie. I always
money.
donate to Bernie when I can. Well, maybe you could do $40 today because we want to make sure, like the debate. They would kind of mention debate
For real.
So I was like, I won't be. And I said, Bernie's a great. One of the great two candidates out there. And she's like, yeah, I know Elizabeth Warren is the other progressive
she
out there.
said that, didn't she?
Oh. She goes, is she the other one you were talking about? I said, well, I was kind of thinking about Tulsi. That's interesting. Well, Elizabeth, and this is just literally a half hour ago, fam.
Yeah.
Literally, because I've signed paperwork and put my name down. I'm a Bernie guy. And I said, well, listen, I can't donate today. Thank you so much for calling. But I'll be able to donate when I can, and I will kick a couple bucks.
I don't know who
man.
trained them to say, "Oh, Elizabeth Warren." Are you serious?
She was going off script. That was the thing.
Okay, I hope so because
No,
Elizabeth Warren is not the other progressive that I would consider. I mean, that most people I know consider. Here on the ground, like it, you may see it on Twitter, but like on the ground, it's entirely.
I love
different.
Elizabeth Warren. I don't know what you're talking about.
Shut the hell up.
Elizabeth Warren is the
I'm
best.
not in the mood today, or should I say I'm in a mood?
Can I give some shout outs to some peeps today?
You can.
I'm going to also look too, when we play a couple videos, I'm going to look and I'm going to make sure I remember to mention our Patreons by name tonight. We will grab those names. We almost have 80. We need one more person.
80.
Thank you so much, though. Remember back in the days, about 5 months ago, before we hit our spike, we had like 8. And now we're almost at 80. We had less than 4,000 subscribers. Now we're at almost 26,000 until YouTube turns the faucet back on. But it seems like Facebook is turning the faucet back on a little bit, but not a lot. But starting with Facebook, I want to say hi to a couple people there. Hi, Larry. We hope you're back there safe and sound in Seattle, Washington.
I'll come visit soon.
Don't worry. We will babysit the crow. Carrie Mark, thank you. Good for you, too, Carrie Mark. Cheyenne Tierra, we love you, Carrie Mark. We love you, Cheyenne. You
Hello,
guys,
everyone.
you ladies are awesome. Matthew Savella, thank you for the kind words the other day. We so love you too as well. Stevie Wolfbrandt, we see you eye to eye. All we want to do is give you hugs, my
where
man.
have you been? I want to see you.
He's the man.
He's around LA. I don't know where
This
he is.
fan over here, she's been amazing. Sarah Williams.
Yes, Sarah. Thank
Williams,
you.
you are awesome.
You guys share because I'm blocked from sharing. Someone must have reported me for speaking out against the establishment.
On Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't share.
You
I haven't
gotta
been able to post.
Stop talking shit about Katie
Stop
Schill.
talking about the
Mark
truth.
Swanson, how
I
you doing,
haven't said
Mark
anything
Swanson? We love you. Here's another great guy, Justin Williamson. How you doing, Justin, man? Hope you're listening on in, hanging on out with us. We love you wherever you're at. Thank you so much. And let's go over to the Convo Couch YouTube. Started off slow, but we'll get it going. There's 65 people. Listen, Jimmy Dore just released a video. You can watch it after the Convo Couch. Watch the couch first, watch the video second. Freedom Tribe, how you doing? Convo, it's great to see you as well. Jamie 420. Jesus Zamora, Ghostwriter DOF, Jackie Pago. I won't be saying that right. Rocky Bellinger, hanging out on the YouTube. He's
Rocky?
all over the place. We love you, Rocky.
California
Aloha.
picking.
Aloha, Rocky.
Brian Maldonado. Great day, dude. Kimberly S., how you doing? Cam Schwari, Kate. James Doan, we already said hello to you. Sammy Escamilla the Bull. How you doing, Sammy? Progressive Resistant Media PRM says Bernie 2020, fam.
Bernie 2020,
Let's get
fam.
started. We got a lot of stuff to go over tonight. We have a lot of great things coming up. The convention is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yo.
So I gotta release some stuff, but I did attend an event with Pramila Jayapal yesterday.
Yes.
And she's cleared up many things about Medicare for All and what her plan is and what she believes. And there was a policy guy there. There was a woman from the nurses union. And then there was this gentleman who's very popular. He's a doctor from UCLA. He's this Asian American guy. He's very smart, and he's promoting Medicare for All. Mm-hmm. So it was basically, her plan is very similar to Bernie Sanders. Hers is better.
Yes.
It's a 2-year transition period.
Is that why it's better? 2 year?
It's not just that. It's easier to apply. It allows for less of the state problems. The Bernie's plan gives more power to the states than
who's co-sponsored onto that bill? Anybody we know out there that would be on the
shameless plug? Tulsi was one of the people that co-sponsored
bill. Got it. Just
that
wanna make
co-sponsored hers. However, Lauren Steiner asked a question. And I know it was Lauren Steiner because she was there, and I know the kind of question she asks. And you could have asked a question. You had to fill out a comment card. So Lauren Steiner tried to ask a question to make Tulsi Gabbard look bad because this wasn't about Tulsi Gabbard. The whole thing was about Medicare for All, Jayapal and Bernie. And so Lauren Steiner, of course, gave her question, and the moderator lady read it out loud, and it was like, Tulsi Gabbard co-sponsored your legislation, but on national TV. I mean, I know how Lauren talks. She said this. She said that she wants to let people keep their insurance and have them opt in, something along those lines. I'll have the video out. And the Jayapal basically said, well, she didn't even talk about Tulsi. All she said was her plan doesn't allow for duplicative coverage, that it's Medicare for All, but that the private insurance will have a role in Medicare for All. It'll just be a minimal role under her and Bernie's plan. And the policy guy then pointed out, but in most other countries, there is a role for private insurance that's beyond supplemental coverage, and it works really well. And she was like, yes, but also now we're starting to see some problems with people having duplicative coverage in the sense of higher quality care versus that. And she made a really good point, kind of not countering it, but in a way saying, well, this is the issue with that. This is why I don't want supplemental. But she didn't in any way, shape, or form say that wasn't single payer. It's still single payer, just a different kind of thing. And clearly, she aligns with Bernie Sanders more. I wouldn't be surprised if she endorsed him. Yeah. But at the same time, what people have been saying about Tulsi's plan, that it's not Medicare for All, that's not a type of it, that it's not single payer, that it's the same as a public option, is entirely incorrect. So we have to be fair. Jayapal completely spoke out against the public option and kind of shaded Kamala Harris's 10-year plan to get there. She said all these people asking for a public option, it's just not going to work. But that's not what Tulsi said.
Can I ask you a question? Why didn't they just let Tulsi answer the question? Why they asked Jayapal the question?
Huh?
Why didn't Tulsi answer the question?
What do you mean? Tulsi wasn't there.
Oh, so why would there be a question about Tulsi if she wasn't there?
Because it's Lauren Steiner.
All right, listen, I want to say one thing before we go into the first topic. I love you, Lauren Steiner, no matter what. I'll always love you. Just disagree with you here. Tomorrow we'll have
Whitney.
We will have this this healthcare debate going on. Here, Fiorella is going to be with us in the studio. We're going to have Anomaly. We'll be here at 2:00, and we will be discussing and debating healthcare because we're going to have a good, clean, not screaming over each other debate about healthcare. We'll probably talk a little bit about civil liberties.
I don't scream over people. People scream over me.
I gotcha.
Especially men.
I know. We will also talk about civil liberties because that's probably a place we will agree on. Then we'll move on to some foreign policy, and we'll kind of finish up there. That's tomorrow. That's what's on the docket.
Who's Anomaly?
Anomaly is a ex-Bernie supporter who is now went for Trump when Bernie Sanders came out in support of Hillary Clinton. He's got about 100,000 subscribers on YouTube.
He's entirely wrong on Medicare, and we'll debate that tomorrow.
We'll see that tomorrow, and it's going to be fun. I can't wait for him to come over there. Come here. It's anomaly with a 0, AN0, and that's the funny thing. Play it, dude. He's got this great song. He's also a hip hop star.
No.
You know how I found out about Anomaly?
Go ahead.
Back then, when Bernie was memeing it up on Facebook, all these posts about Facebook. This is what I saw. This is the song that he made.
Like?
This is the song he made.
God.
I'm gonna turn it down a little bit because it's a little loud.
God. We really need to play this again.
Just a little bit. Let him just get the hook.
You ever wake up in the morning?
God.
Feel like you could be the next president of the
I
United
feel like we
States?
could get better people propaganda.
And maybe you felt like me before.
This isn't his belief now, I'll tell you that.
He switched over,
Bitch, I
but
feel like Bernie
we'll have a
Sanders.
good debate tomorrow. It's good to always talk the other side.
Pasta just doesn't talk
Let's
to the
go.
other side. He embraces
Walk up
the other
in
side.
the club, I feel like I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. I don't give a fuck. I feel like I'm Bernie Sanders. Woo. Presidential.
Okay, can we move on?
All right, we're moving on. Okay, so well, he will be here tomorrow. But fam, we got more.
Yes.
Not just Anomaly. We're going to do a late night show tomorrow night, 10 p.m. One of my heroes, and you're wrong, because the guys who I love, the guys I really look up to, guys like this. Mark Sloboda from Moscow will be coming live.
If you didn't think we were Russian bots, now you know.
If you don't know who Mark Sloboda is, just look up the name. He is on Crosstalk a lot. He's great on foreign policy. He has an amazing Twitter. He will be here tomorrow on the show via satellite from Moscow, 10 p.m. We're doing a late night show. We're going to talk a little bit about Syria. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That's him. That's my man right there. Look at him. Mark Sloboda. God, I love this guy. Talk about guys who I embrace right here. This is my man. And tomorrow is just going to be a lot of fun. So we have 2 guests tomorrow, and we're waiting on a couple other cool guests too as well, fam, down the pipeline. And we've been getting some great guests. And if you know anybody, you have a connection out there, our audience always hooks us up. Just send them our way. We have a Gmail. Send us a message. We'll take a look and we'll see what's what. If you want to see somebody on the show, like I heard somebody there when he gets out of jail, Max Blumenthal, maybe. If you know
I think
Max,
he's out of jail.
send him our way.
I'm pretty sure he is.
I heard he's locked
Whoa,
up.
he's in jail?
Doing time.
No, he's out.
Locked up.
He was arrested Friday for covering the Venezuelan protest in the embassy months ago.
We should have.
Yeah. No, he was, but he's out now.
So, fam, let's get it started. Two guests tomorrow. Let's jump.
Katie Hill resigned, as many of you know, and I know some people are very upset. Now, you guys outside of California might be more sympathetic to her and to believe her story of this being a right-wing smear, but for a lot of the progressives here that have been fighting against the Democratic establishment, that constantly are attacked by the Democratic establishment, that have seen the way Eric Bauman's nastiness was covered up by the majority of them, and how they didn't care about the victims until it was politically opportunist to care. We have a completely different point of view. My man James Aleo made a few good posts on Facebook about this, and I was laughing. He and I kind of see this as the hypocrisy of a lot of the Democratic establishment right now, trying to make her this victim, and in a way, she is a victim of the way the Democratic Party handles things and the way they kind of want to push everything under the rug and not talk about it. But basically, there's a lot of hypocrisy out there, the Me Too movement people, especially the ones talking about we need to protect women and believe the victims. In this case, of course, are completely ignoring Katie Hill's what she did. Now, was a relationship consensual? Sure, that's not necessarily what's at play here. It is, once again, the abuse of power, the abuse of authority. So let's kind of just go over it really quick. So she resigned, and this kind of brings out this whole drama of the California Democratic Party that you and I know about.
Jesus.
There's just a lot of sexual predatory nature of these candidates. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the pictures, all that stuff. I mean, it's unfortunate because it's private, but unfortunately, when you're a public servant, all of that stuff is fair game. Now, there was a clause that that the House has that you cannot be in a relationship with somebody that's working with you. That is like a legitimate thing, and you can't do that. So she broke that, and of course she likely, more than likely, according to many people in the party, she was told by the Democratic leadership that she needed to resign. And you know, so it wouldn't be that bad. So she was likely told by the leadership, meaning Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has actually donated and embraced Katie Hill. Many of you don't know that.
And we're going to show these pictures.
Jonathan wants to show the picture, so I'm all for it since.
So originally, when the pictures got released, it was released by this right, you know, well, I guess it's right wing, but here they are. They got the pictures. Red State. So here's some pictures. Her with the staffer, kissing the staffer. Warning.
Okay.
Now this was a staffer. How old was this staffer?
I think initially when she met her, I believe she was like 20, and then she was 22 within the course of the time. Now she's not that old. She's in her 30s, Katie Hill. But you know, here's the thing. I don't care about what people do in their private life, to be honest. I don't care who you sleep with or any of that. The problem here is that, to me, it feels like there's more. And so there was this report that's coming out of the Democratic Party in California that not only was Katie Hill in a relationship when she shouldn't have been with somebody who worked for her, but she was using her campaign funds to pay for a lot of their escapades, which is an issue because then you're mixing business with pleasure, and that's something that you obviously never want to do. Like, I'm not judging her at all, and I'm not here to, you know, personally degrade her. I just think it was the right thing that she resigned. But I also think that the Democratic Party kind of washed their hands because they don't want anything more to happen, any other digging to happen, because we know that this is a behavior that the Democratic Party, if they can help it, they'll protect. Had she been a state member instead of like a member of Congress, it would have been a lot easier to keep this under wraps. There's a lot in our Democratic Party right now that are engaging in, you know, this sort of like toxic culture where they are actually abusing people, like Eric Bauman did, and they're not being held accountable. So I wouldn't be surprised that this wouldn't be anything had she been here. But it's because there was that clause in Congress because of the matter of how public it was. And, you know, I don't think it's just about a husband that was angry. I mean, this is obviously, she shouldn't have been doing everything else that she was doing along with it. And it really sucks because I think, you know, I think it's just wrong to spread people's, like, to make this all about something it isn't. But at the end of the day, when you're a public servant, unfortunately, like I said, this is all part of
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I didn't condone. I mean, maybe I accepted, but I didn't condone ever, especially when I got out to the working world, what Bill Clinton did, even though Monica Lewinsky, you know, consented. Mm-hmm. There is an age disparity there. And once again, you know, the girl is under 21. So it kind of makes me uneasy. Does she deserve forgiveness? Yes, I'm willing to forgive her. But does she deserve to keep her job? That's a whole nother, you know, X's and O's kind of competition. But, you know, with people making the comparison out there, let me get this straight. When I say this, it's not okay just because it has been left to be okay. So if there's sexual bad behavior by men, they deserve to go. So in a way, it's not okay to say, hey, since men got away with this, you know, she should be able to get with this. No, the men who got away with this, who've committed the same crimes, if not worse. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of this other bullshit too, fam, where they had funds, like the American people were funding the sexual harassment cases for Congress. There was an actual fund. Remember we talked about this years ago? Mm-hmm. So as tax dollars, we're paying for the hanky-panky. Not just that, when you're the boss and you have an employee, and especially when the employee is younger and you're kind of older, whatnot, bigger figure, and you pushed him in a position, and once again, we don't know if it was pushed or not. Everything says it's consensual. It just doesn't look good. Like you should keep your job then. In that case, because you could have used your position to get play. So that's the thing that's really hard. So
I just think it's like, if you're going to call out the Me Too movement, you have to call it out all the time, not just when it's somebody you like or exactly. Now, a lot of people have been echoing, oh, we lost a great progressive in in Congress. A lot of people who don't know about things outside of California. Katie Hill wasn't really a progressive. I mean, she was definitely better than a lot of the, I would say like the blue dog Democrat types. But she actually is like I said, close to Pelosi, and she claimed that she didn't run with PACs and corporate PACs and super PACs, but that's that's a lie. And we have here a few of them because it was a lot.
It was a ton.
J Street is one of them. A lot of people dismiss J Street as not being that bad, but they're actually for people who are pro BDS, they're actually almost as bad. They're not quite as bad as AIPAC. She's also done attended several AIPAC events. And if we look down here, you can see, and it's not just like individual donors, it's the super PACs, and it'll tell you right here on the right. So there's Google, there's Hoyer. Hoyer has donated to her, Nancy Pelosi, and Ameripac.
Disney's there too as well, and
so yeah, I mean, I look at the ones that have the PACs more than anything because that means they're not individuals. But at the same time, it's not all bad. Some of these PACs could technically be okay, but if I look at Bernie Sanders's PACs, they're all like literally it says for Bernie Sanders. They're not like any sort of Democratic PAC. The problem with these Democratic PACs is that they'll have their own agenda. They're used for the establishment. Even if they, if they might be it's good that they're donating to a progressive. That means they have an agenda. So she's never been the most progressive candidate.
You see number 5? Can you explain number 5 to me? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's like End Citizens United, but yet you're taking a bunch of other corporate money.
End Citizens United has they email me all the time. They're not like progressive.
No?
No.
Oh,
no.
God.
Yeah. No, they're not. They push like pretty establishment candidates on and off. Yeah, I honestly we're going to talk about this later, but I'm of the idea that we shouldn't take any PAC money, even if it's good PACs. I think overall PACs in general
PACs.
corrupt. But see, that's the thing, but everybody has their own agenda, I guess is my point. Like, yes, right now, I'm not opposed to people taking it because Bernie Sanders does that. It's the nurses PAC supports him, the teachers, all these people. But for me, I'm kind of on the side of Tulsi where I believe that you should just take from individuals, because the moment you have a sort of like PAC, they're an organization made up of people and they have an agenda. So that's kind of how I'm seeing things. So I want to move on for a second.
Yeah, well, I just want to say that Katie Hill too, as well, is that I think that she's kind of resigning now, fam, because I think there's going to be other stuff released.
Exactly. I agree with
like
you.
hardcore and stuff. You got something, Johnny?
So someone in the chat said that she had a Nazi cross on her.
She did. She had a Nazi cross in one of the pictures.
So I went and looked it up, and here it is.
Where?
It's on her pelvis.
That's a Nazi cross?
Yeah, it is.
The Iron Cross.
It's the Iron Nazi cross. Yeah.
Which is that one?
Yeah, it looks just like that.
Wow.
I don't look. The Democratic Party in California is really weird and nefarious.
Wow,
I'm not gonna make.
weird.
I'm not gonna make accusations, but I know that a lot of us, and a lot of my friends who are actually in the Democratic Party, they talk about this stuff all the time. Like they're crazy. They're predators. They cover everything up, and the Eric Bauman stuff. And what's the other guy that they keep finding dead black prostitutes?
Oh, you're talking about I forgot his name. Yeah, the black the young black gentleman. The second one died.
Yeah. So there's been, I think there's been two or three dead young African men in the apartment of this guy who is
he's
like
a big donor,
huge
donor, and he's donated to Eric Bauman,
the entire establishment,
Adam Schiffer-Brains, and
yeah,
all these people. When I remembered, I'll be like, William Dafoe. That was the name I was thinking about. That's coming out soon, right? Yeah, you're doing it, Johnny.
It's a possibility that's not a cross, though.
Okay.
It's a possibility that's not the Iron Cross. You
know.
It looks just like it, though.
It's a tulip.
It could be like a X or something, an X cross or something.
I don't know. People were claiming it was. It looks like it. I don't know.
It was
But I
Daily
think
Mail,
it's-
so I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a little bit, it's whatever. I think we can just, at this point, the woman is out of office. The woman is having to deal with
also have to
all the
keep an
things she
eye
has
on-
to deal with.
We have to keep an eye on Daraka, too. I'm sorry, but he's another one to keep an eye on, too, as well, who seeing this behavior going on a lot. There was Eric Bauman.
That's what I'm
there's
saying. They all
these
cover
people.
it up.
They cover their shit
Yeah.
up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. There's people that are in the line of fire that have been involved, that have said these people are okay, knowing about these behaviors,
Yeah.
and still allowing it to happen, what? For political and personal gain.
Anyway, so
Moving along.
moving on.
You're doing it, Johnny.
So Elizabeth Warren, of course, as you guys know, has lied about many things.
No, she hasn't. Which way, Warren? Sorry.
But I'm sorry, Steph
Elizabeth
Zamorano did the
Warren.
best impression of her last night. It was the best. Oh my God. That was hilarious. So one of the things she has lied about is her past defending of corporations. So there was this whole case with this steel company called LTV Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the New York Times, it kind of talks about how the LTV company didn't believe that they should have to pay claims that these people made against them. And Warren's job was to convince the Supreme Court to hear their case. And this was working against the very people that were coming after the LTV. And all these people wanted to do was that they wanted a health fund for the retired miners. And so Elizabeth Warren was actually fighting in favor of the company against the miners.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, the court declined it, but over a decade later, she ran for Senate in Massachusetts, and the Republicans tried to bring this up, and they completely shut it down as unfair. So either she won her seat anyway, as we all know, and the rest is history regards to that. But that was part of one of many things that Warren has had in her whole body of work. She's also was known as a leading bankruptcy lawyer. If you recall in the speeches that she was making back then, she saw bankruptcy in a way that was just hurting both the creating victims and hurting victims and creating future victims. So she actually made a few hundred thousands of dollars doing all of this on the side also while she was at Harvard. And a lot of it involved representing these big clients. So
it's so weird because the first time you hear Elizabeth Warren talk out, and she's we said the last debate, she went back to her oldies but goodies. And she went back to a viral video, not viral, but it was pretty well known. And really, for me, it's what really elevated my status when I first heard about Elizabeth Warren. And she said, you made a lot of money. Well, good for you. You build a factory, fine, good, make some money. But the underlying rule is that you pay it forward for the next guy because you built it on the roads that we all built. You did it with the education that we all paid for. And she had this great speech, and she did it at a barbecue like on Labor Day. She actually quoted that speech in that last debate. And to me, and then she talks about when she first sat down with Hillary Clinton, and she told her about the bankruptcy laws, and she told me what they're doing, the bankruptcy bill, and they were like, we got to kill this bill. And then she said that Hillary Clinton walked away, and there was just a ton of pressure on her to do the things she needed to do, but kind of made this stance that she's still on that Bernie side, fighting for the people. But as soon as we keep on opening up the banana and kind of peeling, hate bananas, we see more and more stuff from this young lady.
don't blame the bananas. I just want to point out that some of her clients, Pasta, have been aircraft makers, Travelers Insurance and aircraft makers, Fairchild, also the Hunts family of Texas, which is one of the wealthiest families in Texas, railroad companies who wanted to avoid paying for a Superfund cleanup. And as many of you know, she advised Dow Chemicals as its subsidiary, Dow cornering, and they dealt with hundreds of thousands of complaints from women who said they've been harmed by the silicone breast implants. Many of them had cancer.
This was all in the New York Times?
Yeah.
Wow.
She also worked for a number of cases involving, which is a good part, consumer bankruptcy and victims' rights with asbestos litigation, served as an expert in lawsuit against a cigarette maker, Philip Morris, and represented the lawyers whose health battles with polluters inspired the film A Civil Action. So she's not all bad. And let's be fair with her. She's done a few good things. But let it be clear that she was paid more for her work at Harvard than previously thought. So here we have in 1998, the Harvard Crimson reported that she was paid $192,000 in salary and
In 1998?
yeah, plus
That's like 450,000 today.
plus 133,450 more in other
Oh,
compensation.
Jesus.
That's a lot of money in 1980.
It's a ton of money. That's $250,000. Over almost $250,000.
1998.
In 1998, that's worth about $500,000 today. I'm saying. You know who's
Was she? No, actually, no. In 1998 is when the study was done. But this was before.
Yeah, the civil action was about a long time ago. How did the New York Times write this in print? They're going to get a call from somebody tomorrow. Neera Tanya's going to be like, let me tell you something, New York Times. You don't do that to my candidate. You better get in line.
Yeah. So, but to Warren's credit, she said she was never interested in running for office or paid attention to politics because she was a Republican until 1996. So, and a lot of the stuff where she was making money, a lot of the stuff being talked about now, they don't have the records back then to show all of that.
Can I tell you something, though? It's not the fact that she was a Republican that bothered me more than when you look back and you see the actions. It's the actual actions that bother me.
Well, it's the actions that
because
show
it's not
that.
but she's not who she says she is. And then people coming off like she's a super progressive woman. You know, it's like Steve Crumbine said on the show the other day. She's a neoliberal. She's a capitalist to her bones. She's not progressive at all. So,
you want to do some shout outs?
well, you know I want to do some shout
You
outs.
always do.
Rod Stiffington is there. How you doing, Rod? Michael Rayburn, this is over on our Facebook. Carrie Mack still hanging in. Sarah Williams. John Geary has joined on in. And Michiko. OMG, we love you, Michiko.
I'm Michiko.
Michiko is in the house. And Ungi's on. Ungi, we love you. Say hi to Steph for us, will you? Over on the YouTube. 219 and climbing. Freedom Tribe is there. Paul BSO Gaming. Fred Edward. Blaster Master. Hey, guys, how y'all doing today? Gypsy Nurse Kathy. What the hell is a Gypsy Nurse? The old gringo is here. Austin Zappas. Hey, guys. Beer Jew.
That's Pasta's nickname.
Sorry, it's Bear Jew.
No, the old
Bear Jew?
gringo is your nickname.
Schlutzy 100. Tim Flawbug. What's up, Timmy? Fred Edward, we already said his name. And I think that's it. Fam, we learned a word. Oh, Ed, I got to say, Eder 120V Bear. How you doing? We learned, and Keen James is also there. Fam, we learned a word today. Schwitzing.
Oh, God. Stop.
Schwitz. Does everybody out there know what schwitzing is? A Yiddish word. SCHVITZ. When you schwitz, schwitzing means you sweat. But the form of schwitzing comes in like these Turkish baths or these beautiful saunas and stuff. So you stay warm in the cold weather. You go and schwitz. Super chat contribution from Giovanna Liviana. And we always appreciate your super chat on the couch. Thank you so much. The Iron Cross was a medal which dates back to the 1700s. It was in the shape of a German cross. What you have there has been a symbol of Germany for over 200 years now. It's not a Nazi cross. Thank you so much, Giovanna Liviana. You know, it's kind of funny because I think I've heard that before as well. So it's a little bit different than a swastika. You know,
no, it's not it was never a swastika. What people are saying is it was what
I know,
the cross that a lot of the Nazis used. And I mean, I would personally never get a cross that looks remotely like anything like that. But I mean, to each their own. You know, I think we can care less about a tattoo. It's a tattoo. You know, it's whatever. I mean,
bottom line, she abused her power, right?
Yeah, that has nothing to
it's
do with
nothing to
what
do with
what the tattoo was.
But
yeah.
it's nice that Giovanna came over there and educate us. We love our audience, guys. Thank you so much. So, fam, I heard somebody's taking the big bucks. I heard somebody's getting the money. I hear Pink Floyd in my head.
No, I love that song, by the way. It's a good
song. I know
song.
you love Pink Floyd.
I do love Pink Floyd.
I love Roger Waters.
I like Syd Barrett. Okay. Roger Waters is a Bernie supporter. Was. I don't know about now because of the Assange thing, actually. But Tulsi apparently attended a Wall Street meeting. Apparently. Okay, so a lot of people had immediate reactions. This was Friday, actually. And a lot of people just went on there. They saw the headline. I can attest to you that they didn't even do much more than read the article. They definitely didn't reach out to the campaign like I did. They definitely didn't. They just, oh my God, Tulsi talk funny. I'm canceling her again, even though they probably canceled her like 100 times. So
I'm definitely canceling her now for sure. It's like, hey, I know you. You were never going to vote for her anyways. But still, she's triple canceled now.
She's triple canceled. Okay, so I want to point out that I don't like to be reactionary. And so we waited, got all the information. And this Fox Business article was the same with the same guy and the same writer that, if you guys recall, all the way back in June.
Is this Charlie Gasparino? No.
Okay.
Disgrace to the Paisans.
Back in June, no,
Sana non grata.
this isn't all about you. This isn't all about Italians. I'm sorry.
Charlie Gasparino. No. I'll have words with you, Charlie. Thanksgiving.
First of all, Charlie isn't even an Italian name. Okay. Anyway, so back in June, she went to an event where there was a video taken as well. People were freaking out because it was an event with it was a fundraiser, and then there was a few people there that were wealthy. I mentioned him before, Omed Malik, and he was one of them, and he worked for Bank of America, then initiated a lawsuit against them. Apparently he's anti-war. He's donated to other problematic candidates. And he's one of these people that somehow likes Tulsi. Anyway, the same author wrote the same kind of smearish article. Kind of turning this around and saying that, she's like cozying up to Wall Street, to fat cats and da-da-da-da. But the reality is actually very different. So what actually happened was that she did not get any money from these people, nor was she there to actually get it. This time, it was two things. It was a dinner and the SALT conference. The SALT conference has very many problematic people that I do not like, that I would probably not want to be in a room with. But I'm not Tulsi. So she says that she was there to discuss foreign policy, and she was wanting to discuss war. So Robert Wolf sits on the board of the Obama. It's like the Obama board. He's not, I'm not a fan of neoliberals, right? He's not a fan, but he said, setting the record on Tulsi Gabbard dinner, set up weeks ago to discuss foreign policy. He says he has met around 15 candidates and had never met her before. She spoke to Scaramucci at the Scaramucci SALT conference, like I said, and she made it clear she was running as a Democratic candidate and not considering a third-party run. And Tulsi's herself was saying she wanted to talk about her foreign policy, etc. There is actual video, which we can look at shortly for a second. But this piece, like I said, is similar to the one in June. It was written by the same guy.
Charlie.
And we have here,
Bad Charlie.
This is back in June, Tulsi Gabbard clarifying after people were freaking out. She was in NYC holding 3 events, a meet and greet, a fundraiser with this doctor here, and a breakfast conversation. I do not accept money from PACs and lobbyists. Some in the media are upset by the fact that there are business people in NYC who are against warmongers and support my message of ending regime change wars, the new Cold War, and nuclear arms race. By the way, I would have loved to have millionaires and billionaires join this campaign and use their money for good, not evil. Maybe that's what they're upset about. So Tulsi and I differ here. Tulsi, to a degree. So Tulsi is of the idea that there are good people that are rich, and I agree with that. There are some good rich people. And they are willing to listen and might want to help out. A Batman, so to speak, right? So she goes and meets with these people. So she wants to see if they are going to do what it needs to be done to help people, or if they're all talk. Now, for me, I have a strong distrust of these people. It would be hard for me to even meet with them. But this is Tulsi, and this is what Tulsi does. This is consistent with what she does. And of course, this continues that idea. It's just not inconsistent. It's entirely consistent. Tulsi meets with everybody. She's met with people we absolutely despise. She's met with Assad, Putin, Trump, Modi. She meets with all these people that people just refuse to meet with. And in a way, somebody has to. So I really think this is consistent with her message. She's trying to say that everyone, even those we disagree with, we should meet with. And Tulsi isn't Bernie. I want to make sure to talk about that, because Tulsi is not Bernie. We need to stop making her be Bernie. She's not Bernie. She's never going to be Bernie. She was a Bernie surrogate at one point She was somebody that was part of the Sanders Institute because she upholds similar values, but she is not him. And I think people are kind of confusing themselves. It's like, do you want her to be Bernie? Because if she's Bernie, then why is Bernie there? And then if she's not Bernie, then you guys like smear the woman. Like, I don't necessarily agree with necessarily all her tactics, but she has never taken the money. So why would she all of a sudden take the money now? She mentions inequality. She mentions the wealth disparity and the wealth gap and the poor and the rich, but she doesn't vilify the wealthy the way, let's say, someone like I do. I'm like, eat the rich, motherfucker. It's like, yeah, she doesn't do that. And people may not agree or may agree, but that's how she is. And she's pretty frank about it, whether it hurts her or not. And like I said, personally, I disagree with her, but she is being consistent in who she is.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, say there's somebody, we have certain values, and obviously when it comes to the rich, me and you are pretty close there. I'm ready to start braising them. We talk about it all the time. But, if it's somebody who has a lot of money but is still anti-war, as long as you made that you drew that line in the sand, you're not going to take that PAC money. Now you can't be corrupted. You can take individual money. So if an individual like Malik wants to see you, has the same values when it comes to war, he's for ending war, of course you should talk with him. So, I mean, you always got to look who butters their bread. You said this before. It's like, okay, Bernie Sanders might not make good decisions over here, whatever, when it comes to foreign policy, whatever. But no matter what, we understand where he gets his money from. He does take PAC money, but it's from nurse PACs, teacher PACs, a wholly different thing. But he doesn't take Wall Street money, whatever. So, I mean, that's why I kind of think that if you want to take PACs from like nurses or Wall Street or carpenters or something like that, I'm not going to hold your feet against the fire, but she's made the decision not to do so. And if somebody who is financially rich wants to talk to her because they meet on common ground, they're anti-war, go ahead and meet with them. It's stupid not to.
Yeah.
And it is, like you said, consistent with who Tulsi is.
It is. And she's
Very.
not.
And that's why she's got a lot of followers.
Let's
Sorry.
repeat that. She's not taking any PAC money. Whether it's like good PAC money. No, she's not taking it. That her mentality is, I don't want to take it from an organization. And because, like I said, organizations all have an agenda, whether you like it or not. It's like a network. A network is going to have, once it gets to that point with a lot of money, it's going to have an agenda. So she doesn't take that. And Bernie is the only one that takes PAC money that is, it's not corporate. I mean, he's not the only, but he's the only one that doesn't take any like corrupt corporate money besides Tulsi. And I think Yang said he doesn't now, but he's open to it. I haven't really looked into Marianne, but I think she's one of them. But Tulsi, of course, is the one that won't take either. So these meetings do not equal endorsements. I just want to repeat that. Just because she's sitting there and meeting with them doesn't mean that she okays everything. And they didn't donate to her. The only person that has donated to her is the Malik. And he did that before. She's met with enemies and friends alike, like I've said. And she's spent her entire life talking about service before self. Like she's always been talking about serving her country, being a soldier. And there are many times where people have said, Tulsi, you're like the letter from the GNC that they sent to her when she endorsed Bernie Sanders. They have said, hey, like, this is bad. You shouldn't do this. She's done things that have hurt her. All of these things that she's doing, meeting with these people, those things hurt her in a way that is they hurt her in a way that if she were doing this to be popular, if she was doing this to be powerful, she wouldn't do. It's not the strategic thing to do. And she wouldn't be honest about it. Yeah. She would hide it or something. and she's being pretty open about these things. So it's almost like it's hard to pinpoint this woman because she's like not like everybody else.
Well, it doesn't help her within the Democratic Party at all.
No, it doesn't.
Within the Democrat. It's debatable if it helps her outside. Who knows? Maybe she knows something more than we do. Do you want to play the video at all or no? You have a little YouTube video
we
right
can.
there.
If Jonathan, I don't know if we can. It's a really long video, but we can just play it. If you guys, I wanted you to put the link in the comments or in the video because this is the entire footage of the conference she was at, so people could hear what exactly went on. Because when the way the Fox News article put it out was like, oh, she went there to like smoosh up with Wall Street and take some of this lobbyist money and work for their interest. And it's more like she went to say, these are my interests. This is what I stand for. If you like it or not, that's on you. But I want to spread my message.
Let me make this. Hold on. Let me get on the phone. Charlie Gasparino. Vito. Yeah, get on the phone. We got to have a problem with Charlie over there. We're going to take care of him. We'll get him later on.
Should we play a little bit?
We're going to play a little bit here.
Yeah.
Oh, they lowered the volume down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't hear anything. So
Okay. Well, not at least here. Maybe you guys can watch it.
Well,
on
it's closed captions, so.
I can fix it, but
Yeah, no.
that'll
You
be
guys
good.
can watch it on your own. And there is a caption.
Yeah, it's a caption, so no
So
matter
you
what you got
guys,
it.
I'm just saying it's out there. If you guys want to watch it, the conversations were pretty much like normal.
You
Tulsi
watched it?
conversations. I watched parts of it.
Yeah.
Normal Tulsi conversations. It wasn't anything like, here's some money and dollar. It wasn't anything
if you
like
give me
that.
some money. No, not that.
So another thing, Tulsi didn't seem like she was somebody that wanted to be full in politics. Because let's go back to when she dropped out from the Democratic Party, basically from being the vice chair of the Democratic Party, and endorsed Bernie Sanders, took out all these smears, took all the stuff. If she had wanted the power, because a lot of people are afraid now, a lot of Bernie supporters and a lot of even Tulsi supporters are like asking me, why is she not running for re-election? What's the plan here? Is she going to endorse Bernie? And people have made ridiculous assertions that she's doing this because she wants to be president and that she doesn't care about Bernie and that she's going to betray him. That couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, I just see absolutely no evidence of that. Here's a person that stepped down and gave up power when she was a darling of the DNC. They wanted her to come to power. They were going to make her the president of the DNC. They were grooming her to be president. I guarantee you, president is the most powerful position seen in our country. And this is someone that completely relinquished that power because they felt compelled to do the right thing. Many of you don't know, but several people like Nina Turner used to be like Hillary Clinton fans. A lot of us used to be fans of Obama. A lot of us used to be fans of the establishment. People woke up and they were like, whoa, no. Kimberly Ellis is another one. She voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, then saw what they did to Bernie Sanders supporters, and is now one of the most progressive people trying to get into the California Democratic Party. They keep pushing her out. They keep her away. And she is a black woman who the Democrats refuse to embrace because she's not corruptible. And that's the thing with their identity politics. They love people of color only when they can control them. The moment these people don't want that control, they smear them. And that's kind of what's happening with Tulsi, I feel. Yeah. Let's read this.
You have more? You want me
Yeah,
to
I
read
do
super
have more,
chats?
but
Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
It just doesn't make sense to me that people think that after this one meeting, she's gonna go and all of a sudden turn out and take money. It just doesn't make sense to me. And basically, would I be concerned if it is Warren, Buttigieg, Booker, Klobuchar, any of these people going to these meetings? Yes, because they take the money. Like, that's the thing. Like, they've shown me consistently that they take the money. When they talk in their debates, when they talk about things, they talk about things in platitudes, in very embellished ways. They don't talk about actions. They don't talk about legislation. They don't really talk about things that actually matter. Whereas Tulsi Gabbard completely talks about, here's my plan, here's what I want to do, and I'm not hiding behind it. Here's me, whether you like it or not, etc. So, I just think the idea of canceling her over this is a little bit ridiculous. I don't agree with her on her stance of not being so passionate about class warfare. I'm extremely passionate about that. That's pretty much the bottom line as to why I'm Bernie, because I believe that there is definitely a class issue and we must lead with that working people's movement. And that's what I believe. But for me, I'm not seeing any sort of indication that she's corrupt, that she's going to take the money, that she's just going to go ahead and do this. And I just want to remind everybody and put up this tweet, Johnny, that we have to remember that all these things said about Tulsi Gabbard, all these smears have been there for a while. But the political preference aside, is that Tulsi is a Russian asset, a Modi fan, and an Assad apologist until she turned her against the establishment, endorsed Sanders, and went against Clinton in the military-industrial complex. And all of this info had been there before, but the only thing that's changed was her loyalty. Before, she was just working for the Democratic Party. Then she realized, I need to work for the people, and this is what she's done.
Except for the Russian asset. She did that when she left the DNC. She was going to work for Russia. is what they said. That's when she went to be a Russian asset.
Right. So basically, that's what I'm saying. Like we have to pay attention to when did all these things start happening? All these smears, all of that. And obviously, there are points of criticism in Tulsi. Like I feel like her domestic policy still needs work, whereas Bernie's I feel like is amazing. But I feel her foreign policy is on point, and I think Bernie needs help with that. So there are criticisms that I have, but that doesn't mean that I don't have a reason to believe she's going to go and take like Wall Street money and change her views or her loyalty. So,
and like you said, it was all there before. Now it's just since she's not on the establishment team anymore, a little bit different. So we have some super chats from Philip Blair. Thank you for the super chat contribution, and it's always appreciated on the couch. Awful and awesome had opposite meanings 200 years ago. Zican, or Zycan, Xican. Thank you for the super chat contribution, and it is always appreciated on the couch. And we have one more. Hopefully, we have a couple more so we can see that jingle.
One of these days, I'm just gonna walk out when there's too many super chats. I'm gonna take
do the
your
jingle
glasses,
all the time.
break them in half.
A Mars, where did it go? I just lost it. A Mars, there he is. Mayors, A Mayors. Thank you so much. Longest Monday ever. Now you know my sleepscape. She did. Did I miss it? Oh, just a reminder. Iowa hates Buttigieg.
Good, because they're all trying to say that Iowa loves Buttigieg, but no.
It's funny. The guy I talked to today, the Poppy Chuliman, on his feed, he talks a lot about Pete Buttigieg. He loves it. Go to that guy. He's got some stuff to say. Fam has a couple videos on our YouTube right over here.
Them because
we should repost
them.
They're pretty good. Stephen Wade, thank you for the super chat contribution, and it's always appreciated on the couch. Did you guys read the FBI docs over Finders pedo cult?
No.
No.
You
Stephen Wade.
Send that to Pasta.
Please send it to me in my Gmail. Me and Johnny will definitely look into it. That's awesome. I did find some other cool stuff too as well. I know that on the 7th, November 7th, Ron Placone and Grandma will be in the house to talk about some stuff. Definitely talk about some Epstein when that comes about, but they'll be here as well.
I'm sure Ron will be thrilled.
Ron's going to love it. So, since we're on Tulsi, let's stay on Tulsi because... Oh, I missed which one? I'm sorry. All right, let me see. I'm sorry. Doc shows above it. Oh, the doc shows the Finders work with the CIA and the deep state. I bet they do. I mean, their names are painted all over it. I was telling Johnny Sue last night as we were coming home from the show that the most craziest message we saw was on the Amazon book review by Ghislaine Maxwell, when she talked about almost like self above service, but for the deep state, for the CIA, for the intelligence service. You know what I'm saying?
But there's no proof that it was her.
Of course, it was just on her own thing. Once again, we think there was cryptic message. We showed lines and everything coming on. It was the same time with the picture from the In and Out. So whether it's true or not, it still resonates deep because none of these people have been brought to justice. None of them have been. They know where Ghislaine's at. They say she's hanging out in Brazil. Has Prince Asshole Andrew? Has he been arrested? Has he come in? Les Wexner? None of these people. Bill Clinton? None of them. Why? They got away with it because they're intelligence. Bullshit. Thank you for the super chat contribution from Buster Peak 21.
It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
On the couch.
It doesn't have to be the exact same, Pasta. Okay.
Well, then I have to say it.
No, you don't.
Say on the couch. I won't say
You have issues.
Okay.
You have issues.
If Tulsi comes into a tree in Iowa, how does that change the whole race? Listen, if she comes in top 5 in Iowa, that changes the whole race. Top 5.
This is how it works, you guys. It works through the delegates. It really works through the delegates. The more delegates percentages you get, the likelier you are to have a role once the contested convention comes. And I think it's important that Tulsi gets there because I think she is key in ensuring we have a progressive victory instead of an Elizabeth Warren takeover or a Hillary Clinton
or Pete Buttigieg
destruction. I don't think he's strong enough to take over. I think he might be a VP contender, but I don't think he's strong enough.
You got a lot of financial Wall Street
Yeah,
money
but
behind him.
Of
whatnot,
course,
so.
but that can only take you so far.
I hear you.
So
Well, they're hoping on his charismatic ways to pull him through because he doesn't have a lot of dirt on him. They figure so. There is some dirt. Heartlands Media did a whole story about him. That's their area.
There's a lot of dirt. What are you talking about?
There is, in particular, really bad dirt over there. So, what happened? Because he fired certain police, he fired certain police chiefs, and he left certain ones on. That's a big thing. So Tulsi's
I
getting
talked about
baseless
that, yeah.
smears. Yeah, we did. Tulsi's getting baseless smears from Jeet here. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys all talked about it. And the Real News Network did a little show, and they first started off the show with kind of talking about the Hillary Clinton tweet, the Russian asset, whatnot. They debunked that, but this became one of those. Tulsi Gabbard isn't a Russian asset, but she's more complicated than that. And when the but came, it was like, oh no. So Jeet here, who writes for The Nation, wrote an article on this but this is him with Mark Steiner, and I think Mark Steiner has an interview scheduled with Tulsi coming up soon, so because he had mentioned that he's going to get to talk to her, so I can't wait to see that. I like Mark Steiner. But we've been seeing some kind of push from the Real News Network, and I'm really glad that Tulsi's going to go to that station and answer a lot of these questions. One of the interviews right here was Jeet here, which was interesting. If you go to Jeet here's Twitter, you'll see he's
So dumb.
he's a little very much Trump alarmist, which is just this and that, whatnot. And don't get me wrong, if you want to talk policy, you want to knock him back, that's cool. But he likes to project a lot. So after we're not going to even go over the Russian Gate stuff, because the Russian asset stuff, because I think we all agree it was really a dumb, idiotic attack. There's no legs to it. There's no proof. So they kind of push that out of the way, but then they kind of get into. But she's not the type of candidate that is really anti-war, and she's not the type of candidate the left should be looking at. So here is from 7:55. We're gonna go and start this right here and watch what Jeet here says.
I mean, it's not so simple.
No. I think to understand, Gabbard, you have to understand the war on terror and the kind of which has been going on for long enough that there are soldiers serving in Afghanistan who were born after 9/11. And Gabbard, has a very interesting background in Hawaii, belonging to a group that's kind of offshoot of Hare Krishna. But in 2004, she joined the military and she served in Iraq in a sort of combat zone. And I think a lot of her politics is the sort of frustration that many soldiers have with the war on terror, with especially the sort of boots on the ground strategy and the regime change strategy. But her alternative is very similar to Trump. It's like more rubble, less trouble. What you do instead of like Bush-style regime change or Obama-style regime change is you support the hardline dictators in the region, use drones and targeted assassinations. And so it's not something that I think the left should be very comfortable with. She calls herself a hawk, and she is a hawk.
Well, I mean,
They always say that. They always use that one quote.
Well, yeah, we're going to kind of dive into that quote a little bit. But once again, the more rebel, less trouble. False. Bullshit. Okay, Tulsi talks about Timber Sycamore and what we did in Syria, who we funded. We gave Idlib, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all these caliphates, Wahhabism caliphates, money and weapons to go kill the Kurds, to go kill Assad troops, okay? So she knows right away that is her enemy. She understands this. She said this at town hall. She spoke about this. So this whole more rebel, less trouble is bullshit. And I want to just play the next part too as well, because then she does talk about the hawk versus the dove stuff. Let's play another minute of this real quick. But it's just a projection. There's no evidence whatsoever that says that Tulsi's going to fund rebels like Obama did, like...
He compared her to Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody today compared Tulsi to Bush. I mean, come on. Give me a break. It's laughable at this point now. Okay?
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing.
Go ahead.
in your article, you wrote that you had this quote here in your article. You said, in short, when it comes to the war against terrorists, I'm a hawk. Gabbard told newspaper in 2018. And when it comes to counterproductive wars of regime change, I'm a dove. And as Democratic notes, you write to this fellow who wrote in Jacobin that you quote, Gabbard is offering nationalism in anti-war garb, reinforcing instead of undercutting the toxic rhetoric that treats foreigners as less deserving of dignity than Americans. So let's wrestle with that for a moment. I mean, how real do you think that is? I mean, and it's not an uncommon thing to say we don't want we don't want to end up overthrowing governments and starting wars, but how do you respond to terrorism? So this is something Americans wrestle with as well. And she may, in some senses, be hitting a pulse of what a lot of Americans are confused about and wrestling with.
That's right. And I think, as I said, she's a product of the war on terror. But the solution that she's come to, I think, is a very problematic solution and is very Trump-like. And I think this is one reason why Trump has had some success. But we have to really challenge his politics. That the best way is not to do regime change, but to just support really terrible dictators and to sort of do selective counterterrorism. I think what gets left out of the equation, what gets left out of her equation is diplomacy. And that's what someone like Bernie Sanders offers. And Bernie Sanders has a more like a sort of social democratic foreign policy, and he recognizes we have to actually really get at some of the root causes of these problems. So we have to actually have diplomacy to deal with Israel-Palestine, and we have to have democracy promotion that's not based on sending in the Marines, but actually like using diplomatic resources.
So
he has no idea what he's talking about.
None. He just really does not. And this guy writes for The Nation once again too. And she even said sending in Marines, whatnot. Listen, I like Bernie Sanders, but to tell you the truth, when it comes to foreign policy, Tulsi Gabbard has been way better. She's also very much evolved as well. She keeps evolving. She's the only one who talks and calls out sanctions. Now, you can remember we had the show with her here, and Fiorella asked, we talked about it. Take a look at our show right here, 2035, and we asked her in this seat about sanctions because nobody was really talking about sanctions. And shortly after this show, I heard Mike Gravel go, sanctions are an act of war. But a lot of people in Congress never even know what sanctions do. Take a look.
Right now, as far as foreign diplomacy, do you support Jimmy Carter's assertion that Maduro was legitimately elected? And also, do you feel like our sanctions are mostly to blame for the economic situation that has developed in Venezuela?
I haven't heard Jimmy Carter's statement. There have been a lot of differing views on Maduro's election itself. He's the leader of that country. The United States needs to keep our hands off of what the Venezuelan people are currently going through right now, which is determining what kind of leadership in future that they want for themselves.
Right.
That is ultimately the bottom line. I think there's no question that our sanctions have certainly played a role in exacerbating the humanitarian crisis that exists there and the hardship that the Venezuelan people are dealing with. This is one of the problems with our sanctions regime overall. And I just found this out because I was looking for information about what are the impacts of our sanctions around the world and who is suffering as a result. Because most often what we're hearing is it's not the intended quote unquote targets, whether it's leaders in the government or whatever, it is the people in these countries who end up really suffering. And
the super chat right now is going crazy over your answer, by the way.
So we see, once again, we asked her, there's no mechanism in government. However, she understands, and she somehow even came full-fledged to this because now you put there this Twitter here, and what she says right now, she's pretty much calling out sanctions for being bad. And it's part of her speech. It's one of her two, Johnny, if you could put that tweet up. It says the ratcheting up the retaliatory actions between the U.S. and Iran will lead to war that will be devastating people on both countries. As president, I will re-enter the Iran nuclear deal and end the sanctions against Iran to move back to the precipice of war. And also the precipice of war, excuse me. And also below that, too, she even says right here where she calls them draconian sanctions. So to say that she hasn't involved is ridiculous. She's the only president who's calling them out. These sanctions are wrong. These draconian sanctions are wrong. Okay, nobody uses this language. Only Tulsi Gabbard. So you can see how much she has moved, how much she's evolved. And also, too, fam, when it comes to the She's a hawk versus a dove. People got to understand what that's all about. The hawk stuff is the Wahhabi Caliphate. It's Saudi Arabia. She does not like Saudi Arabia, what they do, what they stand for. So when she says she's going to be a hawk, she's talking about these maniacs that we supported in Sycamore Timber when it came to Syria, okay? That's who she's talking about. And here's something even more important. She doesn't have to go to war with them. She doesn't. All she has to do is go to Saudi Arabia when she becomes the president and says, you know what? We're no longer going to do business with you. Bye-bye.
Can I say something?
Of
I
course.
just feel like it's really interesting to see the establishment and people like the Nation and these sort of people kind of like try to say that this woman who is calling out the biggest like symbol of the military industrial complex, Hillary Clinton, who has been calling out the entire military industrial complex, who has said that we need to stop our involvement in general in these regime change wars, who has said that, you know, we need to stop funding the war machine and that's sending these people to die, is all of a sudden trying to twist her into being like this pro-war Bush Trump like monster when she is anything further than that. I mean, you can bring up Obama and say he got us involved in 7 wars, proxy wars. He was the droner in chief. I mean, he was this guy. Yet all of a sudden, this woman who has called out the entire complex is now being turned out to be this sort of like hawk and like, oh no, she actually wants war and she wants this. It's like, no, there is really no evidence of that. It just seems quite the contrary, that these people are trying to smear her because they don't want her to touch the war machine. A lot of these people that work for the Nation and these big networks and these people like the Washington Post, these people have ties to the military industrial complex. They have advertisement for Raytheon right after. And so you have to remember who has good connections with the military industrial complex as far as the weapons is Elizabeth Warren and Raytheon and her green militarism. And it's really interesting to see the entire neo-progressive is what I'm going to start calling them, a side of the Democratic Party just being like so anti-Tulsi, when she is literally saying, we're going to disarm, we're going to stop the sanctions, we're going to stop giving weapons to Saudi Arabia. And she continues today, and that's what PAS is going to cover, like speaking out against Saudi Arabia, who are very dangerous.
Well, you cut the cord with them.
I want to see it more with Netanyahu. I want to see her speak out against Netanyahu.
First things first, when it comes to hawk versus dove, what she's going to do is not necessarily be a crazy hawk as far as weaponry. She's going to stop the funding. She's going to stop doing business with Saudi Arabia. She's going to pretty much tell them no more weapons, no more war, and stop funding them, because she's going to go get a Green New Deal back over in back home. So she's not going to need the oil. She's going to stop funding them, and that's going to be that when it comes to Saudi Arabia. And that's going to cut them by the throat, because if they don't have us to support them anymore, that's how you start going after the hawk on terror. That's it. So,
well, did you show the tweet already, I guess?
We showed the tweet.
This one, the press conference?
No, that's the next one.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were.
No. Here's some other news from Tulsi Gabbard attending the press conference.
So she's going to attend the press conference on demand. Demand the U.S. government release the 9/11 documents implicating Saudi Arabia in the attacks, and this is the media advisory for October 29th.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's going to be holding this press conference tomorrow, and again, she hasn't stopped calling out Saudi Arabia, so that's a very important point to make.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome.
Oh. Let me get on it. Is it the one from Reeve Barker? Weird that the Great Zone puts out a whistleblower piece on Syria false flag gas attack, and Max gets arrested. I'm sure it had nothing to do with each other.
I don't believe in correlation, causation, so I don't know why we would assume that it does or doesn't. I don't see it.
Oh, right there.
Lincoln, FDR, JFK, the same kind of hawk. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say FDR that much.
Wallace was more the
Yeah,
FDR.
it was more like Wallace. FDR was actually really great on foreign policy, but not the best on sorry, FDR was great on domestic, but not the best on foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Do we have anything else, Johnny? Did you want to mention?
You want to run down
about...
some stuff, right, Johnny?
We were going to mention something on Chile.
Yeah, well, this is huge news that she's going to go on this press conference to demand that the U.S. government release these documents. You know, when is a Congress? Has that happened before?
No.
Anyone?
This is uncharted territory over here. You know what I'm saying? People pressed to have the JFK files released for a long time.
Yeah.
Never got released. So, I mean, until like years ago. So the fact that she's doing this way ahead of time, I think a lot of times they want to take these documents, they want to bury them, never get to them, and then down the road. Yeah.
So we'll be covering this tomorrow, folks. The only other thing I wanted to say was that in Chile, you know, things are going crazy right now. This was posted today on Telesur. It's all in Spanish, but me and Fee can translate a little bit.
Y puedes ver, por favor, puedes ver cómo el carro de bomberos pasa sin absolutamente ningún tipo de problema. Es decir, cuando se habla del vandalismo, estamos viendo aquí gente protestando, puedes mirar cómo hay gente joven, cómo hay mujeres, pasa una ambulancia, pasa un carro de bomberos, ellos abren paso y es más, ayudan a que estos carros de asistencia puedan pasar.
So basically what she said there was that there's protesters, old, young, and you saw the ambulance pass by, and the protesters just let it go through. You know,
so because the Western media will report that they're vandalizing, that these protesters are hurting these people, and she's saying that's not the case. Very similar to what was happening in Ecuador, where they're trying to say that these people are criminals and vandalizing and everything else. But what's happening is these people are uprising. They're uprising against a very neoliberal type of government, and this is what we're seeing all over the world. We're seeing these people take to the streets. There are pictures of hundreds of thousands of people. I think there was a claim of a million people in the streets fighting against this form of government. And that's the thing. And like, I wish we would do that. The problem is a lot of people still think you can reform the Democratic Party. And I think after this election, we're going to see if you can. I am of the firm belief that I don't think we can. I think if they do something, this is it. I mean, this is it. And I think people need to start thinking like change doesn't come from you sitting around and just playing electoral politics every 4 years. Change is from the ground up. And the ground up literally means like going to the streets and demanding democracy. Like even if they elect the people you want, they're going to do everything they can to keep them from power. So it's not this. We're all supposed to be as politically involved as these people are. Is our country has taught us not to be. Our country has numbed us into being just complacent and accepting of the way things are, the two-party system. The moment you think outside of that, you are a conspiracy theorist. You are going to help Donald Trump win. You are, you're not doing anything good. You need to accept things as they are. The reality is things haven't worked for us for a long time now. And it's going to get to a point, and we're at the tipping point where either it's do or die. And we don't even have time, because of climate change. So people need to start thinking about what can people do to actually make a movement like this happen here. Because 2016 was the beginning, I think, of the movement. It hasn't ended. This is like the beginning. We can't let this sort of thing die. And the way it dies is with people becoming complacent with people like Elizabeth Warren. Because then what happens is let's say she wins, which she wouldn't, but let's say she wins, people feel like, oh, we've achieved something, we've achieved progress. But then behind the scenes, things remain as they are. The foreign policy of invading other countries gets worse. And then you're going to have somebody worse than Donald Trump down the line. And then you have to vote for the lesser of two evils again to prevent this. It just continues over and over again until you stop it. So we need to do it.
Anything else, Johnny?
Yeah, there's a second part that I really wanted to quickly listen to what they said.
Yeah, of course.
dime, nos ha golpeado todo el tiempo. Había familia, cabros chicos y los hueones pacos, cero criterio. Llegaron y dispararon a todo el mundo. Esos hueones son unos asesinos, son torturadores. Golpean a nuestros vecinos, a nuestros amigos, a todo el mundo, a nuestra población, a nuestra familia. No estamos ni ahí con esos culiados, tampoco con estos hueones de derecha que han vendido todo nuestro país. Y vamos a dar cara hasta llegar a la moneda, ¿no? Y quemar toda la hueá con todos los culiados adentro.
Do you want to translate?
No, you you do it.
I wasn't okay. Basically, he said the police have been, hitting us. They've been
they've been abusing us, and then also like this government is selling our country for money, and they're gonna sell it all until there's nothing left. And that they're fighting against that. Basically, this guy is letting, of course, Western imperialism all over again. This happens all the time, and I'm really glad they're taking a stance against that. And I wish we had that kind of people power, but people are too busy blaming Russia here. So, that's what we're doing: blaming Russia, blaming people for being Russian assets, instead of actually blaming the correct people that are at fault and doing something about it. So.
And then the last thing, did you guys hear about this? That the House unanimously approves bill to make animal cruelty a federal offense?
Yes.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
And then I saw the cute doggy.
Dog. Little puppy.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Awesome. You got anything else, fam?
Nope. That's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Make sure you go over to our Rockfin. We have one over there. We have a Convo Couch Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and thank you all who are joined our Patreons. We do appreciate it. For Pasta Jardula.
Fiorella Isabel.
Jonny Tsunami.
Peace.
Bye. Come out.